proceed through the service tonight, it'll get darker and darker all the way through until at the very end, everyone is invited to leave in the darkness and silence. Now, there will be lights, and there's certainly many of us who know the building, so you'll be able to find your way. But if anyone has any trouble, please do let us know. It's not our intent to cause harm tonight, rather to illuminate blessing by spending enough time in the valley that we can appreciate the view from the mountain. So this night, this service has a number of elements, and you're all welcome to participate in any of them in whatever way is suiting your spirit. Those of you who are watching at home, we're really grateful that you're with us. Tonight, we remember this is the night, the anniversary of the night that Jesus met in that upper room with friends. So if you have elements at home that you would like to share in terms of communion, please gather them and be present. Perhaps you'd like to have candles, your own candles at home that you also will extinguish. For those of you in the room, all of you are welcome to participate in this service of Holy Communion. You do not have to be a member of this church. You don't have to be a member of any church to be a recipient of this blessing, this table set by Christ for all of us. The elements tonight, I'll explain again as well, but the elements tonight are gluten-free. But there are two chalices. One of the chalices, the short blue one, has unfermented grape juice, and the tall, lighter chalice will have wine. We're remembering the act that Jesus offered to his disciples in that day, but we want everyone to have that which they're most comfortable. Tonight, we are really lucky, blessed, and strengthened by the music of so many wonderful performers and musicians, but all of us who are helping prepare, the readers, those who've helped prepare the washing of the feet and hands, everyone who made bulletins and folded, we are a community. We are first and foremost a family of God. And even if you've never been to the family table before, you are family tonight. So may there be a blessing in this darkness and silence. We tell a hard story tonight, so that we can understand the strong story on Easter morning. Welcome, one and all. I invite you to join me in our call to worship. Please, you can remain seated. On this night, we remember the events that led up to Jesus' betrayal, his desertion and death. We recall his pain and anguish as he prepared to meet the consequences of his faithfulness to God's way. And through the Passover meal he shared with friends, this night is different from all other nights. For in it we remember the cost of the love that Jesus had for us. So let's enter that story and allow mystery to surround us. But let us keep silence when we have heard it and the service is over. Stay as long as you wish at the end of the service, in the darkness and silence of this holy night. Then go to keep the story in your heart. For like the disciples in that first Holy Week, we also fail to follow the light. We sometimes pretend we don't know God. We too deny all that Jesus teaches. The world suffers, and we do not respond. Jesus said, "I am the light of the world." For God sent his child, Jesus, into the world, not to condemn, but that the world might be healed through him. This is the week of darkness. This is the time of trial, the day of betrayal. The light was too bright, the message too challenging. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world, and the people loved darkness more.
It was 2 days before the Passover and the festival of the unleavened bread. The chief priests and the scribes were looking for a way to arrest Jesus by stealth and kill him, for they said, "Not during the festival, or there may be a riot among the people." While he was at Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, as he sat at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar of very costly ointment of nard, and she broke open the jar and poured the ointment on his head. But some were there who said to one another in anger, "Why was the ointment wasted in this way? For this ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii, and the money given to the poor." And they scolded her. But Jesus said, "Let her alone. Why do you trouble her? She has performed a good service for me. Why, you always have the poor with you, and you can show kindness to them whenever you wish, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body beforehand for its burial. Truly, I tell you, wherever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests in order to betray him to them. When they heard it, they were greatly pleased and promised to give him money. So he began to look for an opportunity to betray him.
For in the world is my love, who is going away. Oh, said my love, who is going away. Said Jesus to Mary, your love is so deep. Today you may do as you will. Tomorrow you say, I am going away, but my body I leave with you still, he said. My body I leave with you still. The poor of the world are my body, he said. To the end of the world they shall be. The bread and the blankets you give to the poor, you'll know you have given to me, he said. You'll know you have given to me. My body will hang on the cross of the world. Tomorrow, he said, and wash all the sorrows away, he said, and wash all the sorrows away.
On the first day of unleavened bread, when the Passover lamb is sacrificed, his disciples said to him, "Where do you want us to go and make the preparations for you to eat the Passover?" So he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him, and wherever he enters, say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is my guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' He will show you a large room upstairs, furnished and ready. Make preparations for us there." So the disciples set out and went to the city and found everything as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover meal. When it was evening, he came with the 12. And when they had taken their places and were eating, Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." They began to be distressed and to say to him one after another, "Surely not I." He said to them, "It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the bowl with me. For the Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that one by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that one not to have been born."
While they were eating, he took a loaf of bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, gave it to them, and said, "Take, this is my body." Then he took a cup. After giving thanks, he gave it to them, and all of them drank from it. He said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I tell you, I will never again drink of the fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new in the kingdom of God."
Disciples gathered so long ago, so we too gather. We gather with hymns and word and family. The simple elements of the meal then are the ones we have now, bread and wine and juice. But it is the connection not just through the ages, but to one another that I invite you to this day. Christ sets this table not that we can feel special, but rather that every moment might be special with all of those whom we have gathered with. So whether it is this meal tonight, or breakfast tomorrow morning, or a dinner days and days hence, may it be set with God's grace for us all. This is Christ's body, broken for you in remembrance of the brokenness of the world, but it is also the wine of new life and joy and everlasting grace poured that we may know wholeness even while broken. Tonight, I invite you to come forward from either aisle, and those of you in the balcony have a station up there for yourselves. Come by yourself, to yourself, and receive from the Lord's hand. The tall vase here has the wine, and the short blue vase has the grape juice. You are welcome in this place. All are welcome at this table.
When they sung the hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And Jesus said to them, "You will all become deserters, for it is written, 'I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered.' But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter said to him, "Even though all become deserters, I will not." Jesus said to him, "Truly I tell you, this day, this very night, before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." But he said vehemently, "Even though I must die with you, I will not deny you." And all of them said the same.
They went to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." He took with him Peter and James and John, and then he began to be distressed and agitated. And he said to them, "I am deeply grieved, even unto death. Remain here. Keep awake." And going a little further, he threw himself on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, for you all things are possible. Remove this cup from me. Yet not what I want, but what you want." He came and found them sleeping, and he said to Peter, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not keep awake 1 hour? Keep awake and pray that you may not come into the time of trial. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." And again he went away and prayed, saying the same words. And once more he came back and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not know what to say to him. He came a third time and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and taking your rest? Enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Get up, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand."
Immediately, while he was still speaking, Judas, one of the 12, arrived, and with him there was a crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and scribes and the elders. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "The one I will kiss is the man. Arrest him and lead him away under guard." So when he came, he went up to him at once and said, "Rabbi," and kissed him. Then they laid hands on him and arrested him. The one of those who stood near drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to them, "Have you come out with swords and clubs to arrest me as though I were a bandit? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not arrest me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled." All of them deserted him and fled. A certain young man was following him, wearing nothing but a linen cloth. They caught hold of him, but he left the linen cloth and ran off naked.
They took Jesus to the high priest, and all the chief priests, the elders, and the scribes were assembled. Peter had followed him at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, and he was sitting with the guards, warming himself at the fire. Now the chief priests and the whole council were looking for testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many gave false testimony against him, and their testimony did not agree. Some stood up and gave false testimony against him, saying, "We heard him say, 'I will destroy this temple that is made with hands, and in 3 days I will build another, not made with hands.'" But even on this point, their testimony did not agree. Then the high priest stood up before them and asked Jesus, "Have you no answer? What is it that they testify against you?" But he was silent. He did not answer. Again, the high priest asked him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One?" Jesus said, "I am. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of heaven." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "Why do we still need witnesses? You've heard his blasphemy. What is your decision?" All of them condemned him as deserving death. Some began to spit on him, to blindfold him, and to strike him, saying to him, "Prophesy." The guards also took him over and beat him.
While Peter was in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. And when she saw Peter warming himself, she stared at him and she said, "You were also with Jesus, the man of Nazareth." But he denied it, saying, "I don't know or understand what you're talking about." And he went on out to the forecourt. Then the cock crowed. And the servant girl, on seeing him, began to say to the bystanders, "This man is one of them." But again he denied it. And then after a little while, the bystanders again said to Peter, "Well, certainly you are one of them, for you are a Galilean." But he began to curse, and he swore an oath, "I do not know the man you are talking about." At that moment, the cock crowed for the second time. And Peter remembered that Jesus had said to him, "Before the cock crows twice, you will deny me 3 times." And he broke down and he wept. "25 years after this passage was written or happened, Paul will write, 'I do the very things I don't want to do. Even though I know I don't want to do them, I do them anyway, and I find myself again and again in the same mess.' Peter, who not even hours before said, 'I'm with you to the end, Lord. Never going to miss, never going to miss, never ever going to leave,' finds himself doing the very thing that he never wanted to. I empathize with Peter. I set lofty goals. I put into the world all these great ideas. I hope and I yearn and I work and I pray, and then I have a moment where I just do exactly the opposite. Where I've just totally forgotten my best self, and I just do the thing that I maybe even preached about not doing. It's a terrible hazard. But it's also a terrible privilege, because it is in Peter's vulnerability that we also see Jesus's, both grace and strength. We are broken people. We don't have it together. We make bad mistakes. We need divine intervention from time to time. And if it can't be the divine intervention that fixes all the mistakes I've made, I need the divine intervention that sets me back on my feet again, dusts me off and says, "Try one more time. This time with feeling, this time with deeper and greater love." Lent is our reset time. Lent is our come to Jesus moment. This moment for Peter is that come to Jesus moment, that moment where you realize, oops, it wasn't just words, was it? I was looking for life too, and I need it. Lent lets us confront that we're not fully right yet, of the power of love like Jesus's, that can reach into those cracks and bring out something else. Today, we're going to strip the altar. Today, on this Maundy, Thursday, pull up the wherewithal in that moment. We remind ourselves that that happens. And all the finery, all the beauty of Palm Sunday, all of the things that we shouted Hosanna about, who are helping, may I invite you to come forward. We're going to take out the palms and all of the communion, all of the hopeful ideas of a family table. That gets stripped. It gets put away, put aside. We take off the justice candle that no longer can be lit because we have not earned the justice. We have not walked the way of the path. We've set these things to the side. We take them out. We strip this altar of all the fine things, just as our actions lay bare all of our best intents. We take out the evergreen, a symbol of new life. We take out all, we somewhat immerse ourselves in the desiccation of those hopes. The dried palm leaves remind us that, like them, we too have not watered the garden. So, we leave only the bare cross. For a life of justice for all, they too are dashed. The proclamation, all of which seems hollow now, we cover the pulpit, the place where good news is meant to be shared. We drape too all of the sounds, the bells, the joy, the peace, the hope. All of these things. Good catch. You can leave those. Deborah, leave. The story leaves us all bare, a little. The story leaves us all a little stripped down to the bone. And it wasn't always long ago and far away, was it? Where were you when you said you didn't know the man? Who was it that you saw getting lynched or publicly crucified? This story is not just about the far away and the back then. Amen.
As soon as it was morning, the chief priests held a consultation with the elders and scribes and the whole council. They bound Jesus, led him away, and handed him over to Pilate. Pilate asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" He answered him, "You say so." Then the chief priests accused him of many things. Pilate asked him again, "Have you no answer? See how many charges they bring against you?" But Jesus made no further reply, so that Pilate was amazed.
anyone whom they asked. Now a man called Barabbas was in prison with the rebels who had committed murder during the insurrection. So the crowd came and began to ask Pilate to do for them according to his custom. Then he answered them, "Do you want me to release for you the king of the Jews?" For he realized that it was out of jealousy that the chief priests had handed him over. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have him release Barabbas for them instead. Pilate spoke to them again. "Then what do you wish me to do with the man you call the King of the Jews?" They shouted back, "Crucify him!" Pilate asked them, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they shouted all the more, "Crucify him!" So Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released Barabbas for them. And after flogging Jesus, he handed him over to be crucified.
Open our
Then the soldiers led him into the courtyard of the palace, that is, the governor's headquarters, and they called together the whole cohort. And they clothed him in a purple cloak, and after twisting some thorns into a crown, they put it on him. And they began saluting him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" They struck his head with a reed, spat upon him, and knelt down in homage to him. After mocking him, they stripped him of the purple cloak and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. They compelled a passerby who was coming in from the country to carry the cross. It was Simon of Cyrene, the father of Alexander and Rufus. Then they brought Jesus to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull. And they offered him wine mixed with myrrh, but he did not take it. And they crucified him and divided his clothing among them, casting lots to decide what each one should take. Morning, when they crucified him, the inscription of the charge against him read, "The King of the Jews." And with him they crucified 2 bandits, one on his right and one on his left. Those who passed by derided him, shaking their heads and saying, "Ah, you who would destroy the temple and build it back in 3 days, save yourself and come down from that cross." In the same way, the chief priests, along with the scribes, were also mocking him among themselves and saying, "He saved others. He cannot save himself. Let the Messiah, the King of Israel, come down from that cross now, so that we may see and believe." Those who were crucified with him also taunted him.
Oh
and until 3 in the afternoon. At 3 o'clock, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you forsaken me?" When some of the bystanders heard it, they said, "Listen, he is calling for Elijah." And someone ran, filled a sponge with sour wine. Then Jesus gave a loud cry and breathed his last, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. Now when the centurion who stood facing him saw that in this way he breathed his last, he said, "Truly, this man was God's son."
There were also women looking on from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James the younger and of Joseph, and Salome. These used to follow him, and they provided for him when he was in Galilee, and there were many other women who had come up with him to Jerusalem. When evening had come, and since it was the day of preparation, that is, the day before the Sabbath, Joseph of Arimathea, a respected member of the council, who was also himself waiting expectantly for the kingdom of God, went boldly to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate wondered if he were already dead, and summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he had been dead for some time. And when he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the body to Joseph. Then Joseph bought a linen cloth, and taking down the body, wrapped it in the linen cloth, and laid it in a tomb that had been hewn out of the rock. He then rolled a stone against the door of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where the body was laid.